All right. Well, a lovely morning to each and every one of you. Before we're getting started here, I want to introduce you to my great team here that are going to make this webinar happen today. So, I myself, my name is Daniel. I'm pretty much the applications and tech guy. I'm located in the US, and Laura will be actually guiding with me through this um, webinar. Laura is our customer success specialist. She is located in our headquarters in Austria. Hello, Laura.
Hi, guys.
And in case you're so curious, you want to ask some technical questions, we have Mr. Patrick Huber on standby here in the Q&A chat. Hello, Patrick. Hopefully you can hear us loud and clear as well. And if you maybe also want to give people a chance to ask the question, add a comment in the Q&A. It will be a lot of fun. Now, as I mentioned, we'll kick this thing off. The title of the webinar is Measure Electrical Values at High Speed, right? And as quick as the title sounds, this will be a very quick 25 to 35-minute webinar, so you can go on to your day and make, things happen. We don't want to steal too much of your time. And what better way is there to kick off a webinar with, of course, music, but also a nice film? So let's check this one out. Voila, here we are. How exciting. This is the reason why we're all here today. It's our new eCap performance sensor by Tele. And the reason why we decided to come out with a new energy and power sensor is actually because our engineers were so eager to create the most accurate and the fastest electrical energy sensor in the market that they also ended up creating the easiest to use energy sensor. And I think that's something very, very unique in this industry because things are getting more complex, especially IoT projects and whatnot. And a smart person once said, "What is the point of IoT if your sensor is shit?" And that wasn't Albert Einstein. It was our head of, sales and marketing, Apollinaire Rivera. And what that means is pretty much it's a take on, where does Tele see itself in that whole, control and automation market. Is pretty much we're good at measuring electrical values, and that's where we put our strengths into. And that could be an IoT system, it could be a SCADA system, some control panel. Our strength is collecting electrical values. Now, Laura, we'll jump straight to the point. Now, tell us what is this eCap performance sensor? What does it do?
So, as Daniel already said, what is the eCap performance sensor? So, the eCap is a reliable and universally energy and power sensor for really accurate measurements. But I tell you later about that. And yeah, it's like the fastest and the easiest to set up device which our engineers created.
I love to hear that, Laura. Thank you so much
But
for giving us a
it
glimpse
also
into that.
needs it also needs some data. And so why does it need data, Daniel?
Well, that's a good question. Why do we need data? And all of you might hear data is the new gold, right? But why is that? So let's picture, for example, that you're having a electrical control panel and you're measuring voltage or current or power, right? That's how you collect the data. However, that data is pretty much meaningless if you don't tell the data, hey, I collected this voltage value or this current value at 5:15 p.m. on this Sunday. Now, that's your information. But that information doesn't say by any means if it's good or bad, right? And so that means you add that knowledge to that information to make it the smarter system. And what does it mean to turn information into knowledge? It's pretty much you optimize the system so that way you can tell this voltage that I collected on this day is good or bad, for example. And at Tele, we have always been good about, kind of sensing energy, voltage, current. But in the past, we always had these monitoring relays. and we still have them. They're very established in the market. You see them on the left, and what those would do is pretty much they measure, for example, voltage or current, and with the front dials that you can see on the left, um, you could tell it with threshold, now that's a good voltage or it's a bad voltage. However, that's pretty much all of it, right? It's binary information, meaning you just know it's good or bad. Now with this performance sensor, we actually put the teleknowledge in a very well established enclosure style and with an easy to use potentiometer setup in the front into this new kind of era of sensing voltage, current, energy. Now, um, you might know, as I already said, the thing is with the monitoring relays, you can get an accurate measurement, but it's a fixed threshold and you get binary information, meaning relay switches on or it's off. Works for some application, doesn't work for applications where you want to get really a peek into what the control application is doing. And that's why we decided, hey, let's give pretty much this energy sensor Modbus RTO interface and turn those analog electrical values into digital data that you can process in your HMI or SCADA system, for example. Now, you might ask yourself, cool, but what values can I measure with this lovely piece of technology? Well, that is very simple. You only connect voltage and current. For voltage, it can be single or three phase with or without a neutral wire and up to 480 volts AC, right? So that's what we connect directly to the product. Now, you also connect directly to the product a single or three phase current path through 5 amp current transducers. Those could be split core, solid core transducers, so you can scale up for smaller applications, but could go as high as, for example, 2000 amp motors. Now, but just looking at these two values, there's a lot of values that we can actually calculate. If you paid attention in physics, might know some of them already. Things like frequency, active energy. We can actually have a look at, resistive loads, power factor to prevent the pump from cavitation, for example, and all those things, right? Now, if I have this eCap sensor in a real life application setup, let's say, how does that eCap work, Laura? Can you give us an idea of, how it would embed in a system with machines and all of that?
Sure. So you have your asset here, which gives you analog values, which goes through the eCap, and then you have the digital values. But you need to use it needs to go through a Modbus master, and then you can decide if you want to keep it local, like a PLC with a PLC, HMI, or SCADA system, or if you want to put the data through an IoT module and save it into the cloud.
That sounds cool. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, and so that Modbus master, as Laura said, could either be like your IoT module or it could be your local control system. Now, as I said earlier, we specialize on that green part of the equation here, our eCap, measuring the analog values and turning them into usable data. Now, if you would like to explore actually more of the application yourself, we have a dedicated IoT team where we say, hey, we could actually use the motor as a sensor and run things like predictive maintenance and see if the application is like developing a trend and whatnot. And then, we're more than happy to also work with you on that end with a dedicated IoT team. Now, where does this performance sensor do well in the application field, in the market out there? We have seen dramatic success in manufacturing plants, industrial HVAC applications, retrofit applications for that sort, and pretty much everywhere you have an AC motor installed. It could be a compressor, a pump, a shredder, for example. And also what's very helpful is the power distribution monitoring part, right? Where you monitor incoming power into like a wider or bigger control environment. Now, all of that information, of course, can be used, for example, for energy performance monitoring. You want to see what is your energy consumption in the factory. You could see, is there an energy trend? Do I maybe consume more energy? Is there a higher current draw when I start up on certain times? Why is that? And that product pretty much helps you to make those decisions to A, improve your manufacturing process, but also B, so that your manufacturing process and all the used components last longer. And that can range from, electrical parts, like even wiring or motors, all the way to mechanical parts, right? That are pretty much under less stress if you run them at their optimal runtime or run condition. So, and as I already said, some core application cases here is pretty much in the industrial automation field, production flow monitoring. If you want to see, okay, I have 25 motors installed in my production line, which one is dropping out, which one is performing best. And also especially interesting if you work with a split core CT, those retrofit applications. Now, what makes the eCap unique from all the other energy sensors out there in the market? Tell us more about that, Laura.
So as I told you already before, as I told you some slides before, it is very accurate and very speedy. And again, our engineers also created the easiest device to use and to set up. If you want to check out, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, how easy it is to set it up. And yes. So here we have a slide for the technical persons, where you have some highlights. As I mentioned, the accuracy. And yes, so, and of course, it's made in Austria.
I love it. So it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, made in Austria. Long lasting and sturdy, some might say. Okay, well, that's exciting. Thank you so much, Laura. As Laura mentioned, this product, it's for me as an application person, it's the big asset this product has is actually not. It is its accuracy, it is its speed, but what really makes it excel is the ease of use in terms of setup, right? And that compared to some other manufacturers out there in the market, I know there's a lot of providers for energy and power sensors. We made an Excel spreadsheet pretty much that compares all of those and how we would do better. If you have one of those, for example, on your table, or if you have an application that you would like to discuss, we're more than happy to either cross over the product or have a look at some of the products and tell you, hey, this is where the tele product performs better. That's where we're lacking behind, for example. But it's pretty much so unique that we always recommend looking at the application and then selecting the right power and energy sensor. So feel free to request your copy today for this crossover guide. But also what we wanted to highlight is pretty much some handy add-ons, that we provide. Now, we know that there is pretty much no software needed for the setup of the product. However, if you of course have those front dials for the Modbus parameterization, you might want to protect those, right? And that's why you see this front cover on the product that pretty much lets you seal the device so no one can tamper with those Modbus settings. Another thing that we figured out over the past few months is it's a very convenient way to set current transducer ratios. And that means you don't have to go into a software and adjust the ratios. But what you could also do is just set the ratio through a Modbus command and then remotely reset the eCap performance sensor to kind of take in that current transducer ratio. Now, of course, if we can set the current transducer ratio, we also want to make sure that you have the appropriate current transducers. And that's why we also offer some 5 amp, standard split core CTs in various ranges. Now, of course, there's some people that prefer software over, over being able to kind of set up the product on the workbench. And that's why we decided, hey, would it not make sense to have a software that gives our customers free firmware updates? Big thumbs up. I'm a big fan of that. We just had a release last week that made the product even more accurate and gave it more features. And then we also offer a free optional troubleshooting or configuration software if that's your preferred path to set up the product. Now, this would be your glimpse into the configuration software, for example. I like to use it as a live glimpse into the application. You simply can wire up the eCap to your laptop PC with a RS-485 Modbus to USB converter, and then you would see, for example, all the current values that we're reading out and calculating. You can also manually force the included digital outputs that we have with this software, or even adjust the current transformer ratios. Now, as I mentioned, every once in a while we have free firmware updates and software updates for the eCap sensor. And here you can see how easy it is pretty much to do that software update. We have 5 simple steps. You connect it, you start the update, it's updating the product, and it successfully updated the product version, and then it checks again if there is newer firmware available. There's also a video on YouTube. I would encourage you to check it out to see how simple that is. It's a quick process to do that. And I would say, how about sensing some good energy now? Well, in order to do that, I'm sure you all are very curious about the price. Our list price is at $475 for a single piece. However, we're happy to offer you some, special price breaks. And I always say, if you have a project on your table, please talk to us. We're more than happy to, discuss and structure A quantities, and B, also make sure you get a competitive price so that you can be successful with your end clients as well. And for that quote, please contact us at any time under sales@tele-controls.com for a personalized quote. But that is not it. We actually decided, would it not make sense to have an offering that pretty much allowed our customer base to get up and running with the eCap very swiftly? And that is the reason why we decided to come up with an eCap starter kit. And that starter kit, you might see it behind me here, includes the eCap performance sensor. It includes a split core CT. It includes that front cover we just saw earlier, and the USB to RS485 converter. And on top, we're also throwing in a mounting plate, so you don't need to chop up a tiny piece of DIN rail, but you can just mount it wherever you'd like on the go. And until December 31st of this year, you'll also get this fun swag, a T-shirt and a nice eCap trucker hat. Who doesn't want a trucker hat, right? If that speaks to you, feel free to reach out to sales@tele-controls.com. You can also reach out to our resellers here in the US, Canada, Mexico, and all over the planet. Just visit our website with the link here. And then if you have concerns, comments, questions of a technical nature, reach out to me directly, Daniel@tele-controls.com, or to our team at sales@tele-controls.com. And we would be honored if you also checked out our LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter page, for example. Now, if you say, hey, that's so cool, I want to maybe see the product in person before I pull the trigger on the purchase, well, feel free to visit us at WEFTech in Chicago in less than a month at the Chicago, Illinois Fairgrounds, and we'll be happy to give you a personalized tour of the product so you can kind of get your hands on it and see how it works and how it excels, really. And I promised you in the beginning, it's not only one of the fastest energy meters and sensors out there in the market, it's actually one of the quickest probably webinars you've ever attended. So I sincerely want to thank you for joining Laura, myself, and Patrick here on today's webinar. And would love to hear from you with any questions, comments, or interesting application notes. Thank you so much. See everyone soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.